Welcome to the Wealthnomics channel. My name is Gustavo Pinheiro. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I've actually been in real estate. So I've been in real estate for about 15 years and I've done well over 300 deals right now. And what I want to let you know is this. There's one deal that stands out the most. And for this one, I'm going to want you guys to sit down for a second. So I live on the canal and we had a house across the way of the canal. My kids were terrified about this house because it looked like a haunted house. And I had been seeing this house for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I got tired of seeing this house. And my kids finally convinced me, do something about it. Knock on the door, do some research, find out who owns this house. So I finally did that. I mustered up the courage and I found out that the actual person that owned it was deceased. Through doing some research, I found the actual heir to the property. And when I called this guy, let me tell you something. When I called this guy, it seemed like it was the lotto. He was so excited to have me call him because he said, I need to get rid of this property. I need to get this property off my books. And so we were in the process of doing this deal. Now, it was a little complicated deal, let me tell you this, because it had liens on it. It had tax things from the U.S. government. So he couldn't just outright sell it. We had to go through a whole process and short sale on top of that. And when we did that, we finally got the approval of this house and I was able to finally buy it. And then so what I was going to do was I was going to initially wholesale it. And when I was wholesaling it, at that time, people were not actually biting on it. It was a great price, but for some reason I couldn't get the right buyer. And I asked a buddy of mine who's in the business, he was also a wholesaler. I said, come, take a look at this property. What am I doing wrong? He goes, you know what? Let me tell you the truth. If I was you, I would just put some lipstick on a pig. And that's just an industry term. You're just going to paint it, put some new fresh paint, freshen it up, and then just sell it as is. And trust me when I tell you this, that was the best advice that I got from him. I spent 10 grand putting this lipstick on a pig, and I got actually out of that deal, I made $90,000 on that deal. I found the buyer who happened to be staying at my Airbnb, and she was looking for some properties. And I said, hey, I got some properties in the neighborhood. Here, check this one out. She bought it cash and we closed 2 weeks later. While we're in the process of selling that first house, I go back to the seller and I ask him, hey, do you have anything else? Because he was telling me about this whole story about having to deal with all these properties that his sibling had when he passed away. He had all these properties. He goes, as a matter of fact, I have 2 more. I was like, really? So let me buy those. And he goes, no problem. So we signed the contracts on these 2 other deals. They all happen to be short sales. So if you know anything about short sales take a long time to get done. So a few months passed by. These last 2 were not as complicated as the first one. And so they went through very smoothly. And when we bought the second house, right, we looked at it and we said, we're not going to wholesale this one. This one we're going to fix and flip. We knew the potential because when we walked in the house, the whole downstairs was already done. It had new floors, it had a new kitchen, had a new bathroom. All it needed was to get a new roof, get painted, and then fix the upstairs. Now, don't let me trivialize this. Let me let you know it was still expensive, even though it wasn't that many things to do, because we upgraded this house. We knew that this was going to be a $500,000 plus home in the neighborhood, and we need to make sure that the remodel was in accordance to what we can get the max amount of dollars to. So we ended up getting the short sale from the bank for roughly around $200,000. We put in about another $100,000, actually $80K to be exact, to fix this house. We put high-end appliances, light fixtures. We put in high-end bathroom. We actually did a separate shower. It was an amazing thing. We put the new roof in. We painted it. At the end of the day, to tell you the truth, I was like looking back and forth and saying, maybe I should move into it because we did that good of a job. It was 65 feet on the water in the nicer part of town. And I was actually looking to say, maybe I just trade up my house for this. But we ended up deciding not to do that because we had some other properties that we were going to buy and that fit more of our needs. And so when we did that, we finally put it on the market. And let me tell you something. When we started looking at the comparable sales at the time that the property is ready, we're roughly around 300,000 into it. And I realized very, very quickly that my best estimates at the time that we bought it, we thought it was only going to be 400,000, 450,000. But we were significantly surprised and we were bewildered about how high the comps went. How exciting it was when we found out that we were almost at $600,000. That's right, $600,000 worth of comparable sales for that house in that neighborhood, that we were all in less than $300,000. Now, can you imagine how elated I was to figure out I knew that this was going to be a home run. Now, the only question was how big of a home run it was. So we had what they call the Brokers Open, where we privately invited realtors that were within our network to help us price the house. We knew what we could sell it for, as well as why we did that was because we wanted to have them bring their potential buyers to the open house. So it was an unofficial open house because it was before we put it on the market, but we wanted to get a price point of it. We had an idea. We wanted to see how close we can get to that $600,000. I believe, if I remember correctly, we put it at $599 just to see, and we got mixed reviews. Some people say, no, this is more about $500. Some people said, you're right on the money. And so we just put it aggressively, we put it at $599. Later on, after everything was said and done, we ended up selling it for right around $550 minus commission. So if you're following the math with me, that's right. We almost made $300,000 in profit after everything was said and done. So that was the second deal that we did with them, plus the first deal that was already $90,000. So we're almost at close to $400,000 that we've made in profit. And the third house, we just ended up wholesaling and just making a quick flip on it for a quick $10,000. But again, these were all running simultaneously. The other one was an apartment, and there's reasons why. Well, I'll get into it in another video about why I buy homes versus apartments. It's just not my forte. I'd rather buy the full building, but we'll get into that in another video. But that was the main reason why we didn't keep that property, and we ended up just wholesaling it out, making 10 grand and just moved on. So when you collectively see everything all together, we made close to $400 and something thousand on these three deals. So there's a couple of takeaways that I want to give you when you're out there searching for deals. Number one, never be afraid to knock on the house that looks scary, right? Number two, well, partially part of number one is like, let's see your kids. They may have some insight on the type of house that you should be buying, and maybe that them being scared is one of the reasons why you should buy the house. Number two, don't be afraid to ask the homeowner for more business. I can't tell you time and time again, what else do you have? Is there anybody else that you know? Ask for more business. Don't be afraid to do that. Number three, always have more than one exit strategy. When we talked about these deals, right, we learned about what can I just do a quick lipstick rehab? Should I do a full rehab? Should I wholesale the property? In any event, in those three deals, you saw three different approaches that I had, right? And I never just turned away from a deal. There was nothing that stopped me from actually doing the deal. So those are the major takeaways when you start talking about doing deals. And that was how I wanted to share with you my biggest deal. And I got the HUDs to prove it, how these deals can actually happen over and over again. And now we're at a precipice right now where the market's about to change again. And so now what's happening is that there's going to be an opportunity, just like there was an opportunity for me back then when I did these deals, for you as well to be able to do these types of deals. Thanks for watching. Comment your biggest takeaways down in the video, and I look forward to hearing back from you. Like and subscribe. And if you want me to look at any deals, or you want a JV on any deals, you can hit me up on Instagram at Wealthonomics Society. You can hit me up on Instagram, and I look forward to seeing you.